Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Catilius, a data advisor with the region, and welcome to the HIFIS training series.
I'm just going to be quickly going over the different types of consent that we currently have in the region and what each one of them means and some of the ins and outs. So to start, let me go over to our test profile. And when we're adding in consent, we're going to go up here to client information, to consent. And from this main page, also to note that you can see their current consent status down here beneath their picture. So moving into consent, see a list of all the consent that they've had in the past. Scrolling down, we can go down to add consent, and we're going to see the different types of consent here. So really two that I want to focus on from this list. So we have our coordinated access consent and our inherited consent. The explicit one up here, not as relevant for Niagara region, as we have some different custom options like this coordinated access that we use in place of that, which will give us a wider access through the consent. So this one is not necessary for us to worry about. So first, this coordinated access consent type, it's going to be used it's the general consent that is used when the client has signed the system consent form titled Niagara's Homeless Serving System Consent to Collect and Share Personal Information. So this is going to consent the client to have their profile shared across service providers in HIFIS, so that a staff at different service providers searches for that client, the client will appear in their search results. The intent being that our service providers are working together to secure this person housing. So there is some sharing of information between the two. The inherited consent above that is going to be used when you're creating a client profile for dependent children under 16 years of age, because the parent or guardian consents on their behalf. In this case, a client profile for the parent or guardian with the family head family role specified in the family module has to already exist in HIFIS before adding any of the dependent children. And clients 16 years of age or older should provide their own consent, even if they're with a parent. Lastly, I'd like to go over the most unique one of our consents, which is declined anonymous. So to get there, I'm just going to go over and show you what it would look like when we're creating a new client, just for some variety. So if I go here, add client, we're going to see that the consent is the first option, and we'll see that declined anonymous consent here. So the declined anonymous consent is used when the client declines to have their information in HIFIS, but we are still going to be creating a client profile just for data collection purposes related to the provision of services for the client. For example, if your organization is tracking move-ins and you still want to have that move-in counted for this person that you're helping, but they don't consent to having their identifying information in HIFIS, we'll create a special profile for them without any identifying information so that we can still have our data while their privacy is protected. So that was when you would select the declined anonymous. And you can refer to this guide here that goes through the different details that you would be leaving blank, putting unknown, or using some type of code for in order to preserve that client's privacy. In particular, the naming convention here is something that you should take pains to observe so that we keep everything in order. For access to this document, you can go to the main page of HIFIS and go to what to do for declined anonymous clients. This bullet's in here, and there's a link to that right there. I won't go through each section in detail as there are multiple different fields, but just know the general idea is that we're collecting the basic information needed for reporting and securing housing while ignoring the different identifying pieces of information such as name or age or identity, just to protect the person's privacy. Important to note If you are creating a client, as I was doing earlier, with that consent type of the client anonymous, once you've created the client, ensure that you go into their profile and end the consent end date so that the declined anonymous consent does not expire. Because traditionally, client consent will expire after 1 year of being inputted. So again, to do that, you would just come over to their profile and you'd be able to edit their consent from this consent field here using the edit consent row. Okay, thanks a lot for listening. And as always, we're happy to support at Niagara Region. If you have any questions, please reach out to your advisor or the data advisor team. Thanks a lot.